order the August meeting of the Monroe County Public Library Board of Trustees. And we'll begin by going around and introducing ourselves and sharing something that we're reading if you'd care to do so. So Christine, why don't we start with you, or Chris?
I've been reading some Nancy Thayer, so they're very light Nantucket readings. And now I got myself, since I'm going to be traveling, a Vonnegut. So it should be interesting.
My name is David Ferguson, and I just downloaded and I'm hoping to start reading Stillness is the Key. I know nothing about it.
My name is Chris Harrison, and I just am listening to The Beautiful Mystery by Louise Perry.
I am Greer Carson. I just finished Liberalism and Its Discontents by Francis Fukuyama, and I just started Dilla Time, which is a biography of the late great producer Jay Dilla. And I haven't had a second to play any video games lately, but I'm looking forward to the release of Bethesda's Starfield next month, and anyone who's a fan of Skyrim or Fallout is going to want to watch for this one.
My name is Jamie Burkhart, and I have just started How Do You Live? I'm only about a third of the way in, but it's a Japanese classic that's been translated. It's by Yoshino. I think it's going to be made into a movie by Studio Ghibli. So it's set in Japan, 1937. So far, so good.
I am reading something from the other side of the ocean. Good Night, Irene. It's a fairly new book, and it's about the gals who came over from the United States to make donuts and coffee to kind of send the flyboys on their way and give them a big smile because they never knew if they would come back. So,
We'll begin this evening by voting on our consent agenda items. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda items, including the minutes of the July 19th board meeting, the monthly financial report, the monthly bills for payment, the personnel report, and the board meeting calendar?
So moved.
Okay. Do we have any questions or comments for Greer?
I have one sort of comment. The 2023 calendar needs an additional update. I know we've already updated it once this year. As I said earlier this year, we have more department updates than we have meetings in the year scheduled. So for September, we need to update what the department updates are going to be. We're going to have content development, children's, and Southwest, and also the location needs to change in the calendar to reflect meeting at Southwest next month. So I'll make that change for the September packet.
Okay. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda items signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Next, we will have the monthly director's report from Greer.
So we had another month of significant increases in registered patrons. No fewer than 777 new library cards were issued in July. Our summer reading program and our new Southwest branch are the two greatest factors behind this increase, and we're very excited to see that this trend has now continued for 4 straight months. So in April, we had 320 new registered patrons. In May, we had 569. In June, we had 722. And of course, in July, 777. So our total registered patron count right now is 63,523 as of August 1st. Considering that relative to the population of our county, I think that's pretty good. So we're excited to see that. Circulation of physical materials is up for both June and July compared to last summer, and is generally up this year compared to 2022. We have started a new console video game collection in our downtown teen space. This has nothing to do with me, I promise. Similar to our downtown young adult collection, it's something of an attenuated duplication of the titles already available in our adult collection, but it allows teen patrons to browse and borrow items within their unique audience area. And that helps generate interest in physical library collections and can even serve as a gateway to checking out other physical collections at the library. And even though streaming platforms like Steam, PlayStation Now, and Xbox Live continue to grow in popularity, the traditional console game on a traditional optical disc still provides a unique experience for many gamers, and it's something that our teen patrons actually asked for, so we were happy to develop that. Our Southwest Branch sidewalk connector has been installed and is being used by patrons daily. We want to thank the folks in our community who provided the feedback on the importance of installing this sidewalk as quickly as possible. I also want to thank Strasser Construction and Matthew Architects for proposing and executing the best possible solution for making this happen quickly. As for a connector between Southwest and Bachelor Middle School, we're still in conversation with the school about eventually developing the existing pass through the woods to be a safe and accessible thoroughfare for students and faculty. We do believe that that is the best solution for quick and, again, safe and accessible access between those two buildings. Like many of our peer libraries, we've been doing a lot of hiring. What's behind this is a combination of new positions opening up at Southwest, legacy openings at Ellettsville and downtown due to staff transfers to Southwest, and some of the wider trends in the post-COVID labor market. We've been focusing hard on hiring great staff and continuing our efforts to be an employer of choice here in Monroe County. We're starting to wind down now a bit in terms of hiring, and most of these positions have been filled. I want to thank Christine Sneed and Lucy Shake, who are our organizational development team, as they've been leading a new onboarding and orientation program, which has really streamlined the entire process for welcoming, orienting, and training new employees. And next month, we're going to bring a few items of note to the September meeting. We'll have, as I mentioned before, the content development updates, and this includes our collection development policy and the reconsideration request process for patrons. Both are important guidelines in terms of how we handle patron concerns over content and where items should be located within our collections, and this is something, of course, that we're having conversation about on a national level. We'll also have an exciting proposal to provide historic and perpetual access to the Herald Times via a third-party digitization service. We're going to have a children's services update, including numbers and success stories from this year's summer reading program. And we'll have Southwest Branch updates, including circulation trends, programming and room reservation data, patron interactions, and door counts. And a side note, our current door count software has proven problematic at the branch. And so our overall door count numbers that you see in the opening paragraph of the director's report don't yet reflect Southwest patronage. We're working that out now. We expect to have the actual numbers for the September meeting when we're out at Southwest. And of course, we'll hold our public hearing on the 2024 budget next month. So next month's meeting is going to be a big one. And as always, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Just a quick comment. I was a little sad to see that due to the new state laws that that MCCSC has chosen to suspend the access to the e-access card program. It's understandable, but it's disheartening.
Yes. Yes, of course, we want to be responsive and supportive to the needs of our partners in the schools, but given the legislature decisions, they felt that that was the best way to go. And so we want to do everything we can to support them. And so providing that quarterly printed report of digital resources for them to review and consider in terms of what they provide to students in light of that legislative change is a good thing to do, but the e-access card program seemed like a bit of a liability as far as that goes. So
that conversation was started from the corporation,
yes.
just to be clear.
Yeah.
Have we reached out to any school librarians about how to try to bridge if a parent would contact to get a student a card?
Yeah, we are having those conversations with school librarians. And of course, as we said in the report, we're really underscoring the importance of setting up full patron library cards for students at MCCSE and RBB. That's the best way to proceed. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate the effort of our library to do that.
Any other questions or comments for Greer? Okay, then next we'll move on to our old business. We have one action item, and that's on the solar panels initiative. Do we have a motion to approve the solar panels initiative that was discussed in the last meeting?
So moved.
Second.
And for this, Greer's going to explain a little bit about this initiative.
So last month we shared a proposal to install solar panels on a portion of the downtown library roof. We have been awarded a $25,000 grant from the city to pursue this project, which covers all but $223 of the cost of installation. So Brian Leibacher, our building services director, had come and spoken with everyone, presented on the estimated energy savings, which are admittedly minimal in terms of this particular set of solar panels, but could be expanded upon, particularly if the city's grant program finds success and they renew the grant opportunities for further development next year and beyond. Perhaps more importantly, we see this project as an opportunity to demonstrate the importance of pursuing clean energy options for large facilities like ours, and again, something that we can expand on going forward. I also want to point out that what we're planning to do in working with MPI to determine exactly where the solar panels will go will also leave us room on the roof to explore other development opportunities down the road. So we don't want to fill the roof with solar panels necessarily, and there's plenty of roof space for us to do this and look at other opportunities. So tonight we'd like to proceed with a motion to approve the project, and Chris has an updated contract that has the appropriate date for signature.
So the solar panels provide electricity.
Yes.
The lights obviously are electric. What about the heat at the library?
I believe they're electric, or at least in part, but I have to confirm with
Okay.
Brian. Yeah.
Okay, I was just curious
Sure.
if that will be.
Yeah.
If we happen to get more solar panels, that would be affected.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of approving the solar panels initiative signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Okay, and moving on to new business. The first item is a motion to approve the public notice for the fiscal year 2024 budget. Do we have a motion to approve?
So
So-
moved.
Second.
Okay, and Gary's going to fill us in on the notice.
Last month, we went over the first draft of the 2024 budget. An updated version of the budget is included in the board packet behind the public notice for the budget, which is on page 110. If there are any questions on the details of the budget report, I'd be happy to answer them tonight. The next step in the budget process is to post the budget notice to taxpayers in the Gateway system, which is the state budget information system. The notice to taxpayers provides the public hearing date and time, which will be at the September 20 board meeting at Southwest. The public notice also provides the adoption meeting information. The budget adoption will occur at the October 18th board meeting here at Maine. The 2024 budget estimate showing on the notice is about $12,759,000. This includes the allocation for spending in the operating fund, along with some debt fund and rainy day fund allocations. The property tax levy for 2024 is estimated to be about $8.5 million, split between the operating fund and the debt fund. The current year tax levy is about $7.7 million. Are there any questions on this public notice for the budget?
I'd just like to say you guys always do such a good job with this every year that I've been here, to save money and to spend taxpayer money very wisely.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, right.
All those in favor of approving the motion, of approving the public notice for fiscal year 2024 budget signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Okay, and the next is a information item about a period products pilot. So we have Fern who's going to come up and share with us about that.
All right. Hi, my name is Fern Salvaggio. I'm a library assistant at the downtown branch in the Teen Services Department. Today, I'm here to inform you of an initiative which is the result of work myself and others have done for over the past 4 years. What is the project's goal? When I initially conceived of this project, the goal was to make free period products available to our patrons in order to aid in addressing issues around period poverty, equity, and inclusivity within our community. Period poverty is a broad term used to describe a lack of access to period products due to financial constraints. This can affect a person's ability to perform routine daily activities and in some cases can result in people using unsanitary means to take care of their period. We want our patrons to know that they can always come to a library if they're unable to afford period products for themselves or for others, just as they can always rely on our bathrooms being stocked with toilet paper and paper towels. This helps us to fulfill the library's values of accessibility, inclusiveness, safety, service, and stewardship. In 2019, I was part of a team which wrote an innovation grant proposing the purchase and installation of AntFlow period product dispensers in the library. That grant was not selected that year. However, in 2022, when this proposal was reworked and brought back to Greer with his support, it regained traction. A team was formed to work out the logistics of purchasing and implementing the distribution of free period products in the library. Myself and 5 other coworkers, Kim Baker, Maggie Hutt, Jack Kovaleski, Lorraine Martin, and Tiana Pasco, met in order to determine how best to implement this initiative, or to purchase dispensers, answer questions in order to help frontline staff feel prepared for this initiative, and create resources explaining this initiative to patrons. After extensive research into different vendors and solutions undertaken by Lorraine Martin and Tiana Pasco, we elected to work with the company AntFlow. They're an organization which focuses on helping communities provide free access to period products and manufactures several types of dispensers and period products. Their solutions had the advantages of accessible dispenser mechanisms, a variety of high quality of period products, and was a tested and proven solution in public libraries, with 135 other libraries in the United States employing their solutions in their institutions. We want to provide free period products in the same way that other community organizations, such as in the IU campus bathrooms and at some area high schools. Offering free period products at MCPL will help many people in our community, such as those who suddenly get their period or find themselves unable to afford period products at the time. The dispensing solution we elected choosing is the Model E pictured here. This solution was chosen for several reasons. First and foremost, for its accessibility. Unlike some other solutions, this model has a push mechanism instead of a twist knob for dispensing products. It is also easily refillable by our facility staff with a key lock on the top where sleeves of product can be restocked when empty. This model was specifically recommended by AntFlow staff as a good solution for libraries because of its durability. Finally, we liked that both the tampons and pads supplied for it are made out of 100% cotton and are chemical-free. Dispensers are to be installed in the second floor men's and women's bathrooms at the downtown library, in the family bathroom next to the DVDs at the Ellisville branch, and in the single-use bathroom by the teen space at the new Southwest branch. We will be evaluating the dispenser use for the next 6 months. If this trial is successful, we hope to make this a permanent program and look towards expanding the program throughout the remainder of our public bathrooms. The startup cost total was $1,420, which included 4 dispensers, 1,000 pads, 1,000 tampons, and shipping. This should cover our trial period. The estimated cost after the trial period will be about $1,000 a year. It is $125 for a case of 500 pads and or tampons, and we will need about 4 cases of each every year. This is a very reasonable cost for the quality of products we are receiving and fulfills our project's goal that at MCPL, no matter when your period starts, you have free and reliable access to the products you need. Thank you so much, and let me know if you have any questions. Yes.
I love this. I think this is wonderful for equity, and I just think it's very good. What will you define as successful?
So we are going to track how many products are being taken, which is very easy to do since the sleeves are 50 each, and we'll just count how many we have left over after the 6 months. We also have set up a feedback form for staff to fill out whenever patrons come up to the desk and either have questions or comments that they would rely.
So you'll see how much it's used and if people are
Yeah.
using it. It'll be interesting to see, how much is used at the main library as opposed to the others.
Yeah, definitely.
How did you choose
use your estimates for product for yearly estimate for cost?
That's directly from AntFlow. They asked us how many patrons we get on like a monthly basis, and then compared that to other similarly sized libraries that currently have their dispensers and how much product they go through. So it's, you know, kind of a rough estimation, but it's based off of other libraries of similar size.
All patronage, or because we have that team program here, which obviously you're well aware of.
Yes.
So do you feel like we have more people that might be of use using this than other? I mean, that's what part of the 6 months trial.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
The trial period will let us know, like, if we'll need more than what is estimated or if we'll need less. Yeah, so that's why we want to do the trial
Yeah,
and
that's
not
why
just,
it's-
you know, jump in and.
I'm with Kari. Like, I've heard from so many people who had access to these in other spaces who've just really appreciated that, and I love that we're doing it. Is there any reason we would stop?
One of the reasons we went with the AntFlow products, they're set up, the dispensers themselves, in such a way that you can time how they dispense the
So-
product. So.
Actually, that mechanism was taken out of their dispensers.
Oh, okay. I
There
did not
aren't
know
currently
that.
any dispensers that do that anymore.
Okay.
They found that it was restricting access for people who needed it.
Okay.
So that
And so the estimate
Yeah, how
is
will we define
actually includes they say what happens in most spaces is there's a surge
Right.
of people grabbing them within like the first like month or two, but then once they realize that it's just gonna be there, it like levels out.
good.
So once we get to that leveling out phase, wherever that is, I think a lot of the way we might define abuse is going to be just based on observation. So if our security staff, for example, see a lot of people coming out of bathrooms with a lot of products on a regular basis, then we know that that's going to be a problem. Yeah.
Months before you decide that that's an abusive
Yes.
situation.
Yeah, so
okay.
we'll see the whole 6-month trial period.
The other thing that's come about almost at like the same time, I think, is some opportunities for grants even in our community for this kind of initiative specifically. And we've said, well, we're already moving forward with our own pilot, but it's good to know that there are going to be some opportunities for funding this, because the other thing is if it becomes something close to cost prohibitive, but we've already put it out there and people really like it, we're going to want to find a way to keep it. So this could go from an operational thing to a grant-funded thing.
Thank you.
Thank
For
you,
a
Fern.
great new innovative program. Okay. And next, we have our department update from Information Technology from Ned Baugh.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ned Baugh. I'm the IT department director. I'm giving you an update on the IT department. We're a relatively small department, which means each of us is responsible for a range of things. I'll give you a brief overview. My staff include Paula Gray Overtomb. She's our web administrator. Vanessa Schwegman, our Polaris and phone system administrator. Cody Mullis, our network administrator. And Dakota Erickson, our tech support, and he's our most recent addition. We were sorry to see Henry, his predecessor, go, but Dakota's already proven himself a valuable member of the team in the time he's been here. And together we support library staff and patrons in all things technical and computer related. I have two areas I'd like to share with you for this. The first is a follow-up on how our new intranet is working out. That was something I introduced at my last department update. And the second is a review of my department's role in the opening of the new Southwest branch. So I last presented to the board in July of 2022. At that time, I showed the board our new intranet system, which is called Happio. I think most of you were here for that, but maybe not everyone. It was a pretty big change for us. It was moving to a new vendor and a new tool, and trying to give our staff tools that would make it easier for them to make updates to the intranet. We wanted them to be easier to use, and we also wanted them to be integrated with our Google Workspace environment, Google Drive and email. So after a year of using that, I can say we're pleased with the results. We went live in April 2022. So in April of this year, Cody Mullis, who is the administrator of Happio, pulled some stats to see how we'd been using it. And over that first year, over the whole year total from April to April, we had 188 active staff members log into Happio. That means 188 individual staff members all used it. And then in the last 30 days, our active user count was 160. And you may be scratching your head thinking, I don't think there's that many employees at the library. But if you look at it over a year's time, there would be that many due to turnover. So in that sense, we'd have that's a large number, but I think that number still looks really great, even taking that into account that it may be inflated because of turnover. As far as page views went for that year from April 22 to April 23, we had 151,000 page views. Again, that's maybe hard to make sense of. What does that mean? But for the past month, we had 17,000 page views, and that's about an average of 500 to 700 page views per day. That activity is typically higher Monday through Friday and then drops off on the weekend to under 100. But that's basically the number of times that a staff person connects to Happio. So we're seeing active, regular use of it through pretty high numbers. On a typical weekday, we'll see around 80 to 100 users connecting to the system, and that number drops to around 50 a day on the weekend. So that pretty much matches the staff we have at the library at any given time. Activities in the channels is slightly higher, but it looks similar. I hope you guys can visualize this. I didn't bring a demo this time, but basically we have pages, which are like what you would think of as a typical website with static pages, and people make updates to it. We also have channels that are like news feeds. People make a post, you can comment on it, respond to it. So the channels activity is slightly higher, but it looks similar. In a given week, we'll see 70 to 100 users checking a channel at least once, Monday through Friday, and then that drops off over the weekend to about 30 or 40. And the same holds true for engagement. The tool gives us the ability to see how many people are responding to a post or leaving a comment for it. And so the engagement for that is also similar. The number of reactions and comments in response to posts has held pretty steady, although we've seen a general uptick of this activity in the past month of July. When you were mentioning that our new patrons are increasing steadily, I wonder if there's a correlation there. I haven't seen that, but it got me thinking it. So those are the stats. Overall, the usage has remained pretty steady, and I interpret that to mean that staff have adopted the new tool and find it useful. We were told when we implemented it that you'd probably see a lot of activity early on, and then it would taper off, and you'd see sort of a plateau. And that is what we've seen, a pretty steady plateau. The usage that I've described goes back pretty consistently for the past year. So I'd say that's the baseline now. People are using it. And beyond that, we've gotten positive feedback from staff who are using the site. It's generally easy for people to post information on their own, either to their department pages or to one of the channels. We also have a Happio steering team that meets regularly to discuss what's working and what needs work. In general, we feel pretty good about giving staff a tool they can use without depending on IT to post something. We still support staff as needed, of course, but much of what happens on Happio doesn't require any intervention from IT. And that was one of our goals. So there's still room for improvement in terms of balancing the needs of staff who perform very different duties and tasks throughout the day. It's one thing for someone who works at a desk all day to check the intranet and make use of it. For staff who aren't on a computer for long stretches of time, communication is still a challenge. But overall, we feel pretty happy with what we've accomplished with that project. And then the other thing I wanted to discuss was my team's role in the opening of the Southwest branch. We were suggested that that might be a way to sort of describe what our department does through the lens of what we did to support that. So for much of the past year, my team was focused on that opening. Opening a new branch is a little like opening a whole new library from scratch, as you know. So while we didn't have to reinvent the wheel, we did have to plan and execute everything we'd need at the new location. Everyone in my department played a role in developing and rolling out technology for the branch. So you know that you're going to open a branch. What does that mean for the IT department? One of the early things that we set up were web pages for the construction project so that the public could see what was happening and be informed. We also needed to set up web pages for the branch itself, like we have for Ellettsville, so people can see what programs are happening there, what new events are coming down the pike, and be able to register for events and programs. That was all Paula, our web administrator. She made all that happen. New branch is going to need network connectivity. So we arranged for fiber to be installed at that new location. Because it was a fresh build, we had to arrange for Smithville to actually run fiber. And as well for the necessary lines for our phone system. The network cabling inside the building fell out of the scope of regular construction. So we worked with our vendor to get Ethernet installed throughout the building, to have a rack installed for the local switches that Cody configured and installed. And we worked with that vendor to also have access points installed for Wi-Fi coverage inside and out. And we installed a speaker system for paging within the building. So that was all work we did with vendors, but it involved a lot of hands-on. I mentioned the phones. For the phones, we already had a phone system that's shared between our main library and Ellettsville. So extending it to the Southwest branch was, in theory, straightforward. However, because phone technology has changed somewhat since our last phone system change, we had the opportunity to complete a migration to a new back-end technology for our main system, which in turn allowed us to set up a phone system at the new branch that wouldn't require a separate server on site. They connect to our system here at Maine without a server there. I'm laughing a little bit because I tried to write that sentence different ways. I hope that makes sense. But basically, we had to upgrade. We had an opportunity to upgrade, and if we did it ahead of time, it would be easier to set up the phone system at the branch. Vanessa did the lion's share of that. She worked with the vendor and coordinated the changes that needed to be made in advance, as well as the deployment of the phone system there. And then for the program rooms and meeting spaces, we worked with a vendor to set up an appropriate projector system, like we do for the rooms here at Maine. That included the teaching kitchen and the children's program room. They all have technology that was installed through a vendor, but we coordinated. The new branch needed computers, obviously, that's our bread and butter. We purchased and deployed computer equipment for our staff to use, including public desks and staff work areas. And we purchased and deployed the public computers, the printer and the scanner, and all the fun equipment that's in the teen area. And we also needed to expand our current system for time and print management for the public computers, and that involved some back-end configuration that Cody took care of. Cody and Dakota both deployed all the public computers at the branch. It was not too dissimilar from what they do here, but kind of a big job to take that out to a new location and build that from scratch. And for the staff computers, this is another one. I hope I'm making this clear. I kind of struggled to make this simple, but explain what we were actually doing. The technology that we use for our RFID checkouts at Maine and Ellettsville, we use those gray pads maybe you've seen when you check something out, staff hold it over. That RFID pad is similar to what's in the self-checks too. Those pads are still functional and they work great, but they're no longer available. It's an older technology. So we have newer versions of the RFID pads that we were going to use for Southwest. It uses different software. It involved figuring out how to configure those for our system. Vanessa and Cody both did a lot of work up front to troubleshoot and try and make that stuff work. So there was that. We have those up and running. It was not a flawless rollout, but everybody was patient and flexible. And then we also worked with the vendors for our security gates and the material sorter to ensure that they connected properly to our existing systems. So all of these elements of the project required lots of troubleshooting and trial and error to get up to speed. Despite the best laid plans, we found a lot of things that needed to be tweaked and changed as we got closer to going live and after we'd opened. It's been a learning experience for all of us, and we've had to adapt and change plans where needed, and we're still looking for ways to improve the experience there for patrons and staff. I just want to say I'm proud of all the work that my staff have done. Each of them brings a high level of expertise, experience, enthusiasm, and conscientiousness to their work. And that's not just on the branch project, that's what they do every day. I feel very fortunate to have such a great team. For the rest of this year, I don't have a big shiny project to show you that is really flashy. But we do have some big projects coming up. If they go well, they won't be noticed by staff or the public at all, as IT projects often are. Paula has been working to update the back-end system for our public website, the content management system. It's an open source system that is no longer being supported in the format that we use. Migrating from one content management system to another is a large task. It's something she's been working on for a long time, but we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Hope to have that finished this year. We will be upgrading our Polaris system, the catalog, and that's another project that requires a lot of work from Paula and mostly Vanessa. And if it goes well, nobody notices. So those are the sorts of big projects we have coming for the rest of the year. But that's what a lot of IT work is like. If we're succeeding, you don't notice us. So that's what I had to cover, but I'm happy to answer any questions if you had anything that you wanted to learn more about. Or
Question I just have, just because it sounds like you have been able to improve things over at the Southwest. Are you going to try to implement those now here and at Outletsville? I mean, is that what's coming down the pike? Because
they aren't radical changes. The things that I had in mind, I'm sorry to say, were we were not as up and running as we wanted to be on day one. Some of it had to do with that new RFID. Some of it had to do with staff training. So I believe we were approaching the point where things work as smoothly out there as they do here at Maine. But it wasn't like we adapted a new process that works better there and then we're going to bring that over. We may still see some of that, but just getting everybody up to a speed where they're comfortable with the technology is what we're hoping for now.
Any other questions or comments? Well, then, thank you to you and your team for all your hard work and dedication to the Southwest Branch Project and all that you do to keep the IT functioning at the other two branches. So we appreciate you very much. Next is the time in our meeting for public comment. Do we have any members of the public that would like to step forward and address the board? Any Zoom? Nope. Okay, seeing none, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Okay. All in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We are adjourned.